We're going to talk about what Bitcoin is and then go back in time and explore the history of currencies. In 2010, a developer spent 10,000 Bitcoins on 2 pizzas. Today, as I make this video, those Bitcoins would have been worth $35,150,000. If I were that guy, I wouldn't want to look at another pizza or hear the word Bitcoin ever again. Welcome to NeoScribe, research in the future for you, so you don't have to. Bitcoin Mania is here. Many believe that it will go mainstream, and it already has in some ways. As of this year, many companies accept Bitcoin as payment, including Microsoft, Overstock, Dish Network, and PayPal. Some analysts believe that Bitcoin will be worth $100,000 each in 10 years. So what's all the fuss about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, which is a decentralized digital currency that isn't controlled by a single entity, such as a bank or a government. It is controlled by software and people who use it, and the software continually logs and validates all transactions. And being open sourced and used on a peer-to-peer network, it is impossible to tamper with. Bitcoin transactions are recorded on a blockchain, which is a fancy term for ledger. A block is a list of records. And as transactions happen, the chain grows. This blockchain, since it's run on a peer-to-peer network, is completely transparent. If this is hard to imagine, you can see the ledger for yourself at blockchain.com. The link is in the description. Once there, simply move your cursor to Products and then click on Info Explorer. From here, you can explore the latest blocks mined. The height is the name of the ledger, as they are named in sequential order. And when you click on a block, you can see its transaction history, as can anyone else. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are anonymous yet transparent, decentralized and tamper-proof. Doesn't that sound like the future of currency? When did currency begin? Before the invention of currency, people would trade belongings with each other and decide and agree what is a fair exchange. When animals started to become domesticated for food source, civilization started using livestock and produce as currency between 9,000 and 6,000 BC. As civilization got more complex, currency slowly began to be used. It is believed that currency was used long before it was recorded in history. But one of the earliest forms of currency that was recorded was in China, and that was the cowrie shell. The shells were known to be used as far back as 1500 BC. A cowrie shell comes from sea snails in the ocean and are abundant in the Indian Ocean. The shells were prized because you had to collect them at great distances on the Pacific Ocean. The tomb of Queen Fuhao was discovered in 1976, and among the treasures were 6,900 cowrie shells. The earliest coins were again recorded in China. They were made out of bronze and interestingly shaped like spades and knives. Here's the spade money used from 1045 to 256 BC. And here's the knife money used between 600 and 200 BC. Ancient India was also an early user of coins, around 600 BC. The earliest uses of coins in the West were around 700 BC. They believed to have been started in the Aegina island of Greece or the kingdom of Lydia. Since coins were introduced, they've been the most universally accepted form of currency for most of history. And then there is paper money. Paper money has a long history of failing to work. The earliest recorded use of paper money, we go back to China to around 140 BC. During that time, there were too many coins in circulation, and that caused major inflation. To fix the problem, Emperor Had Wutai issued treasury notes, each worth 400,000 coins, and were interestingly made from hides of a white stag. A white stag was an extremely rare animal. Each note was 1 square foot and had a special pattern, making the note very difficult to copy. Eventually, the white stag treasury note failed because there was not enough hide to make them. The white stag note was an early example of representative currency. Representative currency has little or no value on its own, but it represents something with value, and the idea behind it is that the currency can be exchanged for the valuable commodity that it represents. In the case of the white stag note, it represented 400,000 coins. So let's fast forward to colonial times in America. In 1690, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was the first to issue paper money as a response to shortage of coins. Soon other colonies started issuing paper money as well. Although the money was supposed to be backed by gold or silver, some colonists found that they could not redeem gold or silver with the paper currency as promised, and it quickly lost its worth. When the American Revolution started, the Continental Congress created the currency note called Continentals. The Continental currency was the United States' introduction to fiat currency. Fiat currency, like representative currency, has no value on its own, but doesn't represent a commodity. Its value comes from government regulation or law. So the Continental currency was created to finance the war. As the war continued, there was accelerated inflation, and eventually it was a worthless currency. Shortly after the Continental failed, the currency we use today, the US dollar, was created on April 2nd, 1792, representing or backed by silver or gold, eventually gold in 1900. In 1972, President Nixon made the US dollar a fiat currency when the dollar became less valuable than gold due to inflation and trade deficits. As of today, the US dollar has nothing backing it. We can't exchange it for gold. Its value is based on law, and it's been working so far. Currency started to evolve into the digital state that we see today in 1970 when IBM unveiled the magnetic stripped card. The idea came from IBM engineer Forrest Perry in 1969. As you know, these magnetic strips contain data that allow consumers to purchase items either through credit or debited straight from their bank accounts. Over the decades, the use of credit cards paved the infrastructure to allow the mass use of debit cards, and today the use of physical currency is largely a thing of the past. Except the occasional times you're behind someone at the grocery store checkout who is taking 10 minutes to write a check. So, based on history, managing currencies is a complex matter that has taken many forms and mediums. From buying things with snail shells in 1500 BC to swiping your plastic magnetic stripped card in the 1970s to now inserting your chip in the reader today. We sure have come a long ways. And perhaps the emergence of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin will be the next evolution of currency. While the concept of Bitcoin may seem perplexing and hard to imagine being a legitimate currency, remember that money we use now has no real value on its own. Our money is already mostly in digital form. It's stored data in our banks. We can't trade it in for gold. Its value is because we, society, agree that it's valuable. And after hearing about all the failures of currencies of the past, don't you think a currency not controlled by a single entity would be a good thing? I want to hear from you. Do you think cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin will be the future of money? Comment below. I hope you enjoyed your journey. If you did, leave a like. And if you're interested in knowing what life will be like in the future, then join the NeoScribe tribe and subscribe. I am NeoScribe, and this is the end of our journey.